Step right up, dummies, and listen to the stupidest sports show on earth with Rodney Newpol and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah. Well, hello, dummies, and welcome to episode number 38 of the stupidest sports show on earth. My name, as you all know, is Tim Slam and Sammy Van Stratton. With me is Rodney Newpol. I feel like I just saw you because we did.
That's right. That's right. We did. Left about 40 minutes ago. And so welcome to, what would you say? This is edition 38 as the 38. So let's see, 39, 40. So 42 will be right before the Super Bowl. One of my favorites, Jerry Stackhouse. I'll give that one away right now for 42. But we will have the best 38s in sports coming up a little bit later. But let's start right away with what we were doing. Like we were at a high school basketball game.
I wanted to give it a little bit of an intro here. Well, by the way, first of all, thanks to everyone tuning in to the stupidest sports show on earth. This is, as you mentioned, the week before the Super Bowl. We will be talking lots of Chiefs Eagles. However, we appeal to the nation, right? We know what America wants. By the way, make sure to follow us at Stupid Sports Show on Twitter. No W, in case you haven't already. But we know what the people expect on a week like this, 2 days removed from Championship Sunday. And it's a recap of Morton Metamora High School basketball. It was, Rodney. I think this is not hyperbole. Probably the biggest sports story, certainly in America. Is it the biggest sports story in the world? Is there an argument? Is there an argument for that?
Yeah. So let me just run this back to you. So you came here from the Los Angeles area, where you went to school the same place the Ball brothers went. So obviously there, but you've been here. How many high school basketball games, counting today, have you been to in your Illinois career?
Okay, so I've went to the Tournament of Champions at least once. However, when we were doing our show from Washington, I don't think there were any games. Well, maybe there were, but like I was doing a show, wasn't really just sitting and watching. So there's probably okay. So I moved to Illinois fall of 2011. I've been here a long time. This was probably the first high school basketball game that I ever went to or actually sat. Actually, no, I saw one half of an East Peoria game several years ago.
That's right. The wife's alma mater. That's right.
Yes. First half, we left right after she was done, though. So this was the first real game where I sat start to finish. Wasn't there for any other reason besides just to like watch a basketball game. This is my first one.
Let me ask you. It was kind of fun and high level basketball, wasn't it?
It was. No, it was. All kidding aside, yeah, it was a very entertaining game. It's two really good local teams that are leading the conference. You can tell that they're on they play very different styles, but like when combined, it creates a very entertaining brand of basketball. And it was fun. I mean, and there was not an empty seat in the Potter Dome, which was exciting.
And you being a Bradley basketball fanatic and a Bradley alum, got to see one of your newest recruits in Matthew Zobrist, obviously a very good player, was absolutely swarmed by Potters all night long. Matthew Zobrist is a fantastic basketball player, but was absolutely swarmed by Potters. Everywhere he went, there was a Potter here and a Potter there to guard him, and it was a very good game plan by Abe Zeller and his coaching staff. We got a comment here. Wes Goodeman's performance against D1 Zobrist only took 12 Wes Goodeman was very efficient, and you mentioned it right before the start of the show, Tim. Was he 9 for 12?
Yeah,
9 for 12. I can only think of one shot that I was like, ooh, I know Wes airballed a shot, but that was a little bit forced. But he was fantastic, fantastic for Wes Goodeman. Yes, our coach David, and he was very good. But your thoughts overall on the basketball game, Tim?
Yeah, Yeah, we'll start on Metamora's side. They have a lot of really high-level basketball players, starting with Zobrist. You can tell that there's a lot of talent there. What I like with Morton, though, on that side is that Morton's team is not. It's not necessarily different. It's not athleticism, but there's definitely a strength component. As I was pointing out too, like Morton's is stronger. They play good defense. They just attacked inside. They were fearless. I think they fed off of just being at home too. That's a part of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was there were not a lot of really bad fundamental mistakes from either team. Like it wasn't like bad passes. The turnovers were just caused by good defense, by just quick hands. And yeah, I think Morton just went out there and really earned a good win. But it was a lot of fun from start to finish. And even when Morton was starting to pull away a little bit, like still kept it fun.
And you mentioned this from a guy who showed up there not knowing really anybody besides, you knew Matthew Zobrist's name and that he was going to Bradley and what you've seen on the news and, local Jim Matson, Kurt Pegler, guys like that. But one thing I took from you is that you don't know any of these guys. And you mentioned just looking at them, it looked like the Morton guys were a little bit more in the weight room, more leg, more muscle. And I give credit to Adam O'Neill, the head football coach at Morton. He does all the strength training for all the athletes and obviously doing a really good job with those guys. Because, yes, you mentioned it. And then Coach Williams mentioned Canton with the big upset over East Peoria tonight at East Peoria. That's a good win for Canton. East Peoria is actually very, very tough, and Jarrett Brown's a great head coach. But, yeah, back to the strength there, Tim. You could just tell the leg strength of the Potters was shining through there.
I love that we're actually doing like real analysis of this high school basketball game here, like 2 days after the championship. No, I'm glad we are. Because we like most of the audience still is like our local people and like it was a big game tonight. But no, there was a moment like in the first half. And I try not to be weird about this because again, this is like high schoolers, but like there's a moment in the first half where it's a timeout and I'm looking at the Metamora players and they're all standing kind of in a circle, listening to their coach. And then Morton players are doing the same thing. I kind of just go back and forth. And I was like, Rodney, look at this difference in the size of their legs. Like Metamora, it's like all that kind of like Metamora was taller, but just like much leaner, kind of that traditional sort of basketball look, right? And you look at Morton and it's like, it seems like they were football players that they threw on like basketball jerseys and said, all right, go get them. Like there was a clear difference in just strength. And I think that played a big difference throughout the game, just in the fact that Morton was able to just get down and attack. And like, they didn't let Metamora's just height have any advantage because they weren't getting pushed around at all. They're just stronger. So yeah, I think there's a big difference there. And let this be a lesson to the children. Weight room matters.
Weight room does matter. And leg day matters.
Leg day matters. Leg day probably matters. No, I'm not even probably. Leg day matters more than any other day. You'll hate it the most, but that means it's good for you.
Yeah. Get off the high school basketball talk, but these two teams will likely and potentially, first of all, potentially, but likely meet in a postseason matchup. There is another team in the area, Peoria High, who has beat them both. Many would think that Morton and Metamora are both probably a little bit better than Peoria High, but again, Peoria High beat both. So it's going to be interesting here in the next month how these teams shake out and what happens there. Hopefully we get a third matchup and maybe I can throw another $5 your way and get you into a basketball game.
That's really what it was. You buying my ticket.
It was well worth the $5 to get you to the game, Tim. It was well worth it.
I appreciate the invite. Thank you. I've only lived here for so long, and this is the first game that you've actually invited me to. So,
yeah. One more comment. Thought they would play Zobrist off the ball and stop setting ball screens for him since they were doubling him every time. Yeah, I mean that Matthew Zobrist had the ball all the time. He had it all the time, and he hit some big shots early. And you mentioned it at halftime. Like if he doesn't hit a couple of those fadeaway three, blowout at halftime, and then. One with the chance to tie, excuse me, missed a free throw in the third quarter. And after that missed free throw, it was kind of snowballed from there. But yeah, I'm with you, Coach. A lot of ball screens. And I just was amazed by the Potters being all over him defensively, 2-3 guys at a time, kind of letting some of the other guys, the freshmen stepped up and hit a couple shots, but letting the other guys beat them, and they couldn't do it tonight. So thanks for joining us, Coach David. We're gonna move on to some NFL talk since we are a probably more of a national show than we are a local show, but we do appreciate you jumping in tonight, Coach. So Tim.
Our East Coast audience right now is furious. They stayed up till 10 p.m. to catch us, and we let off with Central Illinois high school basketball talk. But you know what, David? It's our show. Do what we want.
We can do it, and that is why we are the stupidest sports show on earth. It's Chiefs and Eagles again.
No surprise.
2 years ago. No, I'm not either. I really wanted to come on here and really toot my own horn about Eagles, Bills, Eagles, Bills, Eagles, Bills. I said it in July. I said it in August, September, October, November, December, January, and I was really close. So let's talk about the Chiefs Bills, because I don't know as if we need to talk a whole lot of Eagles command.
No.
It was an ass kicking, and that's really all it was. But the Chiefs Bills, I guess I walked away from that game. I had money on the Bills. Contest where I needed the Bills. I was all in for the Bills, but I walked away from that game at least not totally furious that there wasn't a screw job at the end that cost me. It just came down to Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid didn't make the right play. Now, was there other plays that led up to that? Yes. But I'm going to bring this one up real quick. Sean McDermott chasing points cost. And I tried to tell you in the second quarter that this might happen, but it cost him. Quit chasing points in the second quarter. I don't understand why NFL coaches feel the need they have to tie a game. You can be down one and get the points later, but you chase and you chase and you chase. Some things like this happens. Thoughts on let's go Chiefs Bills.
Okay, so what you're referring to was in the first half where they had that touchdown in the last minute of the game or last minute of the half. Because it looked like when it was 21-10, I was like, oh God, like this here we go. And Allen has a beautiful touchdown pass, gets it 21-16. They go and kick the extra point. And I was saying, why are they going extra? Why not go for two? Because it's still going to be, you're still going to need a touchdown here. I understand now in hindsight what you were saying, where it's like, well, you don't want to think about that. You just take the point and you move on. But I think where it blew up on them too is because the extra point gets called. It's a penalty.
Yeah.
It's half the distance of the goal. They decide, well, shoot, at the 1 yard line. Now we can go for two. And then they decide to run this really awful play with Josh. And that just like all the stuff that they were doing with Josh Allen, like the 1 yard plays, like none of it was working.
No.
Right? None of it was working. And I wonder if they would have started with the idea of, hey, let's go for two here. Their 2 yard line, it eliminates the, hey, we're just going to send Josh Allen right up the gut and hope he gets 2 yards here. I feel like they actually could have gotten a decent play and perhaps it's a 3-point game. But I get what you're saying. I ultimately don't think it came down to that. I just think that when the Bills needed to make those plays, they couldn't. And when the Chiefs had an inch, and it's what we talked about last week, if you give the Chiefs an inch, they'll take it and run with it. Once that big moment, that the one officiating moment of Allen looked like to me he got the first down. They said otherwise. And it took the Chiefs 5 plays to get in the end zone, if that. Right after they just like, thank you. And then that was it. And
so Josh Allen's going to have to get over the hump at some point. And so I look back, like, had a chance to not give Mahomes the ball again and potentially win the AFC title with 3:30 on the clock, all your timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Mm-hmm. And his first possession or his first down was solid. He ran for a first down. But then go through the second possession there. First one, he airmailed over Shakir's head, probably one of his top 3 worst throws of the game. Second down was probably his worst throw of the game. He spiked it into the ground, so his receiver had no chance of catching it. which
Mhm.
then led to the 4th and 5, because they got 5 on the third down, led to the
Yeah.
4th and 5. And I'll give Josh Allen a ton of credit for getting that throw off and getting it to Dalton Kincaid's hands. But what led up to that just has me kind of scratching my head. Like, you've got to be Superman there, and some reason, somehow, some way, guys can't make the great plays that they need against the Chiefs. It's kind of the same as, you give them an inch and they'll take it. Well, they don't give you any inches, and so you're not taking any of them. Like he had a chance to be the hero there and just could not get it done.
No, it was the potential legacy moment.
Yeah.
Like I without getting totally caught in hyperbole here, that was sort of the moment where if Josh Allen can lead his team down the field and at bare minimum send it to overtime, but even take the lead and force Patrick Mahomes to do the thing that he's done before, which he can do better than anyone else, right? Like, you at least give him the opportunity to do it. But like, that was the moment where if Josh Allen wants to get the Bills there, because you can make an argument, like, if they pull that win off, there's no stopping them in the Super Bowl, right?
Right. No, for sure.
But instead you have, like you said, over 3 minutes, all 3 timeouts, and you gain 17 yards.
Yeah.
On six plays. It's 6 plays, 17 yards. I mean,
the Chiefs had more yards trying to ice the game than the Bills had on that possession. Like that.
Yeah.
And then let's move to that. Like, I felt like Andy Reid and Spagnuolo and I guess Matt Nagy, the Kansas City coaching staff absolutely destroyed the Buffalo coaching staff in this game. Like, we all talk about, well, Kansas City does tools, in the regular season. But we see this, like that last play to P. Ryan. It was the only time Samaje P. Ryan touched the ball all game, and he was wide open by 10 yards. There was nobody anywhere near him, which goes to show me that, like, hey, this is our nail in the coffin type play. Like, if we need 6 yards or whatever it is, and we haven't shown it's coming. Whereas Buffalo probably wasted some of those plays, not only in the first matchup, but in the 2-point conversion tries or other opportunities. And I just thought I just was quite unimpressed with how Buffalo was coached through that game. And, there's been talk about McDermott before, like, he's a good head coach, but can he get over that hump? I'm not advocating Sean McDermott to get fired, but like, you got to wonder there a little bit. But you're also going against, the current best coach in NFL, and Andy Reid's going to be a top 5 when he's all done, if not top 2.
Yeah, no, best head coach in the NFL. Probably still, for my money, best defensive coordinator in the NFL, and Steve Spagnuolo. And I think like those blitzes that he was able to dial up in the last possession for Buffalo, I think really told you all it needed to see. Like they brought out the big guns when they needed them the most and worked to perfection. And as a result, like they kept the Bills from doing anything against them. That's really the thing with Kansas City. It's not just the talent, it's the coaching. Like Buffalo has the talent. They don't have the coaching.
Yeah.
I think Philadelphia, the last couple of years, they've certainly had the talent. Everyone says the most talented roster in the NFL. Maybe they didn't have the coaching. Now they might have it a little bit, like Kellen Moore with Vic Fangio. Like they might have it, and we'll see how your buddy Nick does again going up against Andy Reid. But
one more thing on this game. So they completely abandoned James Cook in that final drive too. Like that was what was getting them there. I feel like Joe Brady in Buffalo kind of freaked out, kind of panicked. You had 3:30. And really, we've seen teams get field goal range in 3:30 in no time. Like you could have ran lots of run plays.
Yeah.
You had 3 timeouts. Like it wasn't going to take you much to get in field goal range. That was the minimum of a field goal to tie that game. Like I thought that was a fatal mistake because James Cook was really good. And James Cook, had Buffalo won, that touchdown by James Cook would have been a top one of the most memorable championship touchdowns of all time. Like that was an incredible play.
It was. Just an incredible effort. And you're absolutely right. Like they were operating under the assumption that they had a minute 30, not 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Like And that's what the strange thing was with all 3 timeouts, with the 2-minute warning. All like they could have absolutely just run the ball. They could have had designed run plays for Josh. Like all like at minimum, where do they even start the drive? Like they needed 40 yards to get into field goal range?
The 30. It was probably a touchback, so probably the 30.
Yeah. Okay. So 30 to 40 yards to get in a good, comfortable field goal range for Tyler Bass in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
With basically 4 timeouts and like it's easy. You could do it. You totally do it.
Yeah, very, very much so. That was another thing where I just thought, man, Buffalo. Well, we pretty much say they shit the bed is kind of what happened there. But here's it's Kansas City and the Eagles. Go ahead if you got one more on that.
No, I was just gonna bring this up because the other thing too is we were talking about, like Buffalo can't have any mistakes, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have a turnover.
No. In
Kansas
fact,
Kansas City had turnovers, but like you think about it, Buffalo had 4 fumbles, and they landed on all of them.
Yep.
Kansas City had a fumble, they lost it. Right? That's a 5-0 fumble advantage in favor of the Bills. And this other stat, and I sent it to you and a couple of our friends. Teams with 4 or more touchdowns and 0 turnovers are 21-2 in the playoffs since 2020. The 2 losses. So it's the Buffalo Bills on Sunday and the Buffalo Bills against the Chiefs 3 years ago in the 2021 divisional round.
Yeah. Yeah, that's wild. That's a wild stat that, like, it just goes to show how very, the minuscule with Kansas City, like you have to be very perfect. And they were perfect not turning it over, but obviously not perfect on executing the plays.
Yeah.
At one game, so they played the Eagles, who blew out the Commanders. So I was having lunch with an Eagles fan today, a big Eagles fan. But a big Eagles fan. And he brought up this, and I don't know if I just missed it or I haven't. I don't know if I missed it. I mean, I knew what happened in the game. They rushed for 7 touchdowns.
Yeah.
In one game.
Yeah.
The Dallas Cowboys rushed for 6 touchdowns all season.
Yeah, I saw that. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's amazing. No, that's amazing. And quite cool, actually, especially if you're an Eagles fan, because yes, that would make sense. Jalen Hurts ran for 3. Jalen Hurts is rushing 10 carries, 16 yards, 3 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns. And then of course Saquon Barkley had 3, and Will Shipley, who played because Kenneth Gainwell is out, and supposedly Gainwell's not going to be ready for the Super Bowl either. So Will Shipley will be the backup. Maybe look at him as Super Bowl MVP. What if Saquon gets hurt early?
Well, here's the thing. Will Shipley showed that pretty much you could put any running back and they can do what Saquon is doing.
Yeah. But you like to say that because you don't like Saquon doing what he's doing.
No, listen. He's a great guy. He's an awesome system running back. And he's got these. They have set him up for success there in Philadelphia. It's gonna. Here's the thing. Here's the thing too. What's also funny to me, like you have watched your fair share of Saquon Barkley in the last 6 years, like before he even got to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And as have I, obviously. He has not had this sort of breakaway speed the last few years. Like there are a lot of moments where I was watching James where he did exactly what he's doing now. Philadelphia, he gets through the hole, the blocker set him up, and then he has open field. With the Giants, he was getting chased down by inside linebackers. With the Eagles, he's gone after the first 15 yards. Maybe it's just because of all the times getting tackled behind the line of scrimmage with the Giants, and it was just wear and tear on his body. Like that's probably what it was. Just constantly getting beaten and bruised there, so that when he actually did have daylight, he wasn't strong enough to do it. But like he's faster than he's ever been in the NFL now in its 7th season.
Yeah, and it's really annoying to you, isn't it?
Listen, he's a good guy. I'm glad he's having a good year. and I'm glad that he is in a good system that works for him.
So we will touch real briefly on that other game. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is eliminated. He wasn't great. He's not the reason they lost. They gave up 7 rushing touchdowns. They gave up 55 points.
Yeah,
you're not going to beat anybody with that.
55-23. Like, yeah,
that's not going to happen. But Zach Ertz, man, 16 targets, 11 catches, 104 yards. To me, Zach Ertz is a hall of guys I want on my team. Good, right? Like, he's not a Hall of Famer, right? Like,
no,
he's not a Hall of Famer. We kind of do the Hall of very good, but he's a hall of guys I want on my team. Good. If I want to go get a legitimate tight end, now there are other guys that I probably would choose at Zach Ertz's age. What is Zach Ertz? 30? He's 34. But
34, yeah.
If he's available and I can get him on my team, that's the guy I want on my team. I guess I'm just more giving him the praise of Zach Ertz had a really nice career.
I feel like he also is kind of fading a little bit the last couple years, and then this was his resurgence. I'm looking here because he was with Arizona for 3 years
and not real good.
And yeah, it's pretty. He was good like first year he got there, and then missed some time. And like 2023, he only played in 7 games, 27 catches. Like, it was pretty much like not relevant. And then he gets to Washington. He plays every single game. He has the most yards that he's had in a year since 2019. Most touchdowns that he's had since 2018. So it was huge. But yeah, he's been in the league since 2013. Great career. It's over 8,000 yards. He's a good player. No, he's a really good player. And just like on third down, and here's the thing: rookie quarterbacks benefit so much from having just that security blanket, that tight end. Yes. And I think he has played such a huge role in Jaden Daniels' success and his development this year and maybe that's part of the reason why some of the other rookie quarterbacks, maybe we didn't see too much of them. Caleb Williams didn't really have quite that level of security with like a Cole Kmet, right?
Right.
That Jaden Daniels had with Zach Ertz.
Yeah.
So it matters. It matters for sure.
It matters. So the Super Bowl is not this Sunday, so we got quite a bit of time to talk about it. Friday. It's early Super Bowl preview here. It's a 1.5 point spread, really kind of whatever. You can kind of make it whatever you want it to be, because if you want to adjust it one way or the other, you're not getting a ton of juice. For me, yes, I will be betting on the Philadelphia Eagles, but I don't like it and I won't like it. It's just it's all by principle of that's who I had and that's who I mean, honestly, that's who I'm cheering for. Not really in spite of you, more of that. This has been the team that I've been jonesing about all year. I've been running my mouth about the Philadelphia Eagles. Like, I don't want to stop now. Like, I want to see them get this done. I have a feeling Kansas City is going to find a way to win this game. I just do. I just do. I mean, we talk about it. We gush about it. They're well coached. They're going to be prepared. Mahomes gets every play that he needs done. I'm not going into the whole official thing, because if I thought it was a conspiracy theory, my money and a lot of it would go on the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Like, that makes sense. Like, and that's what I tell you as the listeners. If you, the listeners, are truly convinced that the Super Bowl is rigged, that the NFL is rigged for the middle of America, Kansas City Chiefs, put your money on the Chiefs. It's that simple. Into that. Yes, they get calls, but like the 90s Bulls got lots of calls. We just didn't have social media to document every single one of them. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. Do we have it's probably too early to know what side the public is going toward here. I know the line's at 1.5, and it's not like anything has shifted drastically within the first couple days here. And I don't know if it will. But
yeah, I haven't seen much either. You're right. I think it's maybe a little early to have that. I know right away there was some pretty big money coming in on the Chiefs, but I'm sure we have big money coming in on the Eagles as well, just because of both fan bases are going to have their dudes. So one wager that came, and so I'm coming off the topic here, but I'm on Ben Falks here. $550 wager came in today on Jake Elliott to win the MVP
I saw that.
at
Yeah.
1,001.
Yeah. No. Don't do that bet.
A kicker has never ever won the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, and Jake Elliott also has not been very good lately.
No. I would if I had to choose between the two, I'd take Harrison Butker as an MVP over Jake. Not taking a kicker. More things I want to get to over the next week and a half is Super Bowl MVP bets. We got to get to Gatorade color. We got to get to the national anthem over under. That'll probably be more next Friday. We can spend next Friday's show doing that. But I'm taking the Eagles. We can dive more into this. Gun to head, who are you taking, Chiefs or Eagles?
Well, gun to head, and I don't want either of them. I'm obviously going to be rooting for the Chiefs, though. I can't in any good conscience root for the Philadelphia Eagles to succeed in any capacity. I want nothing but their failure. That said, I think the Eagles are a more talented football team. I think their offense is more explosive. I think their defense has been really good. That said, though, I think it's going to come down to coaching and execution. There's a couple of things that I saw earlier today, which are fascinating to me.
Yeah.
One of them is the fact that Vic Fangio is the defensive coordinator for the Eagles. Fangio, a lot of ways like Steve Spagnuolo, is just one of those like revered defensive coordinators that wherever he goes, just the defense improves, right?
Yeah.
Just has that reputation. Vic Fangio has faced Patrick Mahomes 8 times, 6 with the Denver Broncos, twice with Miami, right?
Okay.
So whether DC or head coach, whatever. His teams against Patrick Mahomes are 0-8, and Patrick Mahomes has thrown 10 touchdowns and 2 interceptions in those games. So whatever he's throwing at Mahomes, like,
it ain't working.
The Chiefs, yeah, it's not working. Like, the Chiefs are answering, and they're making it happen. Also, in the history of Super Bowl, whenever 2 head coaches meet each other for the second time, right, in the rematch, the coach that won the first Super Bowl has always won the second Super Bowl. I think it's happened like 6 times, right? So 6-0, where if you've played each other once, the winner wins the second time. And like you think like Tom Coughlin versus Bill Belichick, and like the 2 Giants-Patriots Super Bowls. Giants got both of them, like the ones like that. So something to keep in mind here, because I think the big advantage for coaching has to be Kansas City.
Yes.
The quarterback advantage in terms of like if you need to make a throw, that goes to Kansas City. But Philadelphia has the better run game. They have probably, I would say, better weapons.
Yeah.
And I really do think they have a great secondary. Now, like the way that Kansas City runs its offense is like they don't throw anything down the field. Everything is so quick. So I don't know how much the Eagles, like corners and their safeties, are really going to matter too much. You know what I'm saying?
No, I do. Because, and Kansas City's so crazy. They'll have who knows who will be their top receiver on that game.
Yeah.
I mean, Travis, that's another thing, too, against the Bills. He just was kind of out there. He didn't really hardly get targeted. And, everybody, the perception was going to be, Kelsey's always the go-to guy in big games like this. He wasn't against the Bills. Not saying he won't be against the Eagles, but he was not. But no, I do know what you're saying there. I don't know as if that's going to play a big factor.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I'm trying to think, did Patrick Mahomes throw a pass that traveled in the air more than like 10 yards down the field? Maybe he had one play to Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that was a big pass he had. But other than that, I'm really trying to think. Like, I feel like all of the yards were just yards after the catch.
Yeah,
and they just Worthy and Hollywood Brown and all these guys, and they just like boom, get it out quick, and then just rely on their speed. Like, I feel like it's going to be Xavier Worthy having another big game for them.
Yeah, they get a lot of space, just like that Piron play at the end of the game. Like somehow, some way, they're wide open with yards and yards and yards to use. And figured out they are very talented defensively. Philadelphia is very talented defensively, but figuring out how to stop a Kansas City team. You probably haven't seen Kansas City's full bag of tricks yet, right? Like, they got more coming. There's something else coming. There's something else coming from that Kansas City playbook that we haven't quite seen, and that's going to be the fascinating part. But we can move on from Super Bowl. Go ahead.
Well, I was one more thing though that is going to be in favor of the Eagles, and this is a really stupid stat, but it's fitting for our show. So there's a guy on Twitter that I really like. His name is Jay Kuda, and he does a lot of like random sort of graphics and finds these really obscure stats that shouldn't be relevant, but they make you go, right? So this century, so starting in 2000, every time the Super Bowl has been played in between two teams, where one team is traveling east and one team is traveling west, the team traveling west has won. This year, it would be the Philadelphia Eagles that are traveling west, and the Kansas City Chiefs are traveling east. This has happened in 2002, 2003, 2006, 2009, 2013, 2015, 2019, and 2024. 8 times. And 8 times in the last in this century, the team is traveling west has won the Super Bowl.
So the last 8 times west for the Super Bowl has won.
Like if the Super Bowl is played in a location that is between the two teams, where so it's not like two East Coast teams that are both going the same direction. Like one of them, like basically they're coming from different directions to meet at a central location. In this case, the Chiefs are traveling from Kansas City to New Orleans, Philadelphia on the other side, boom, to New Orleans. So different things converging. And the team that's traveling west has won 8 times. Never lost. So, like I said, very stupid, obscure stat. Doesn't mean anything. No, but also maybe something to think about here. Because listen, there is a lot of time between now and Super Bowl Sunday, buddy. Expect more of this type of stuff over the next few days.
No, that's good. We need to get some of those out on our Twitter account. I may pull some of those up and start tweeting some of those nuggets this week. You can follow us at Stupid Sports Show, no W, on Twitter. Next topic, we had favorite coaching hire. NFL coaches are all set except for New Orleans. New Orleans is kind of flirting with, they've talked a little bit about Mike McCarthy, although that's been kind of less and less.
Well, tonight, actually, while we've been doing the show, NFL Network confirmed that Mike McCarthy will focus on the 2026 hiring cycle. So he is basically, he's out of the Saints. Yeah. He's not going to coach this year. He's going to focus on getting a job next year when inevitably more jobs open up. So McCarthy's out. So it's Kellen Moore or Mike Kafka, like one of the two for New Orleans. But that's the only one we're waiting on now.
Yeah, and Todd Monken actually is going to go back to Baltimore. He's extended with them. There was another assistant that was going to – Cliff Kingsbury has committed that he's going to be going back to Washington. So, yeah, it's the last one. And you wanted to talk about the favorite coaching hire. I think the popular choice here is not going to – it's popular choice is Ben Johnson, but that's not going to be my favorite. My favorite, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I like Pete Carroll.
I knew you were going to say Pete Carroll. I knew that's where you're going.
I like Pete Carroll in Vegas. So listen, every time the Raiders are on, they're going to old Pete Carroll, the oldest NFL head coach. But Pete Carroll by no means acts and coaches and behaves 74 years old. He's going to be 74 in week 3 season. But I think Pete Carroll is a guy that if you can, you got a 3 to 5 year window here with Pete Carroll. Like more than that, I don't think we're asking for too much. But I think he's a guy that can kind of start bringing some relevance back to the Vegas. You don't see as much embarrassing play in Vegas. Maybe start exciting the fan base a little bit more in Vegas because let's be honest, since they've gone to Vegas, there hasn't to the Super Bowl, but their team wasn't very good. Pete Carroll with his demeanor, his attitude, he loves the game. He's ready. His press conference, he was ready. He wanted to start tomorrow. I like Pete Carroll. I've always liked Pete Carroll as a head coach. I know there's some hate against him. I know he's a little bit too much for people, but that's probably my favorite hire. In my least favorite hire, I'll just go with this one. I don't like the Liam Cohen hire.
Was it the press conference?
Duval.
Duval.
Yeah, goofy. He's
It was
corny.
like Duval.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my.
Yeah, he's corny. He's corny, and I don't know. I don't have. And I know he did wonders with Baker Mayfield. Let's see if he can do that with Trevor Lawrence. I don't get a good feeling there, so that's my least favorite hiring. So I'm going to go Pete Carroll as with the answer to this one. What about you?
Well, so can I comment on a couple things here?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Liam Cohen one. It like from the way that the hiring was handled, where he was going to go back to Tampa, but now he's coming to Jacksonville, and then he gets to this press conference, and then he's trying to do these weird acronyms, and then he goes Duval. Like, I'm like the only saving grace here is that a couple recent press conferences that got clowned, like Nick Sirianni, if you remember his opening press conference with Philadelphia and what a train wreck it was, talking about the systems that they were going to do, like it was one of the worst opening press conferences that you could possibly find. Dan Campbell's obviously was memed to death, and you know those two were successful. On the other side of that, you have like Adam Gase in his press conference with the Jets with his bug eyes, and that did not work. So it's like you can't really look into it with the press conference. But yeah, I'm kind of with you on Liam Cohen. Like the resume is really good, but just there's a lot of weird vibes going in that I'm like, I don't like this, and it's just like the franchise right now doesn't seem in a great place.
No,
that is able to overcome it. Yeah, but I really like Pete Carroll. I think if they weren't going to get Ben Johnson, I think Pete Carroll makes a lot of sense. Now, the downside is it's not going to be a long-term hire. At least I don't think. So let's say you get Shedeur Sanders, right? And Shedeur Sanders actually becomes like a pretty decent quarterback there. Well, okay, well, Pete Carroll's there, but then suddenly what happens when Pete Carroll retires in 3 years? And then now it's a new head coach, and that's the only hesitation. But I'm with you. I really like him. I've always thought that he's a really good, well-respected coach. Players love him.
Yeah.
And now you have can you make a case that the AFC West is the best collection of head coaches in NFL history?
Yeah, no, I was going to mention that next. Yeah, that's an incredible cast of coaches. We've got Andy Reid, who we're considering the best coach in all of football. You've got Sean Payton, who obviously is very good and it is turn that Denver program into a very good one. You got Harbaugh, who hasn't quite got it done in the NFL as much as his time with Michigan, but
it's crazy because Jim Harbaugh is the least accomplished NFL head coach of the four.
Yes.
Yet no one would be like, Jim Harbaugh, that's a weak spot. Jim Harbaugh is an excellent coach who has won every single year that he's been a head coach in the NFL. Like he is a consistent winner, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't have the Super Bowl, but he's been there. He's been successful. He was successful in San Francisco. He gets to the Chargers. Immediately they go from a 5-win team to an 11-win team, just like that overnight. So and that's the least accomplished one of the bunch.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yes, I do think so. And I wanted to touch on one more. I'm not super comfortable with Aaron Glenn with the Jets either.
Is it him or the Jets?
Yeah. I mean, I think the whole dark Rodgers and what the future there is maybe what's setting them back, and what is just kind of like I don't know what the vibe is here, because even like Aaron Glenn didn't really want to commit one way or the other, and I get it in his press conference. Like he can't go out there and say, "Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is going to be out of here. Like I'm booting him," or "Yeah, Aaron Rodgers is my guy going forward." But like until that's cleared up, the vibe is not great with the Jets. And then honestly, like our answer probably here should be Mike Vrabel. And now his was done kind of well before these others, but Mike Vrabel's a great coach. And that's a great hire for the Patriots. I like Pete Carroll and what he brings to Vegas a little bit more than Vrabel and the Patriots.
Yeah, no, I think Vrabel's fine. The one downside with Vrabel is the sort of how does it work in terms of developing the offensive quarterback, or like the quarterback, and you didn't really do that with Tennessee. Like Tennessee did not,
No.
unless I'm like they didn't really get the most out of the quarterback position. New England, you can't afford to do that. Like your franchise success rests on Drake May. So that's sort of the question there. But no, Mike Vrabel's good. It's a great resume. Yeah, I think it makes sense. I would say my favorite, just the obvious one, is Ben Johnson, just on the fact that it was like you look at what he's done with the Lions, and now he goes to a Bears team that he has a chance to just totally re-energize. There, things are in place for him to succeed there, and he's clearly a smart guy, but he's not like what struck me about Ben Johnson is that he's more of like that sort of vocal leader than I was under the impression that he was.
Yeah.
Like seeing just some of his clips of him as press conferences, like, okay, he actually does have some of that head coach energy that maybe like you didn't realize.
Yeah,
That certainly like Dan Campbell has it. So like that's the obvious one. And I'm surprised that you didn't say your least favorite was Brian Schottenheimer, because that's definitely my least favorite.
Yeah, I mean that I don't know. Like I feel like I'm just kind of ignoring that one because it's like, okay, what's actually going to happen with Dallas? Like, is Schottenheimer even going to coach a game? Or is Jerry going to have Byron? I like this guy better because like I just like it almost is like really I don't hate it. Like I don't hate it because I don't mind giving longtime guys that have been loyal a shot, but like it's the Dallas Cowboys. Like that's the type of team. That's like something the Jaguars should do. Like, hey, this guy's been in the NFL. His dad was a head coach. We're going to give him a shot because, who knows? But it's the Dallas Cowboys. Like the Dallas Cowboys isn't really a trial run to be the head coach.
I don't know if I agree with that though, because like at a certain point, man, if you've been an assistant head coach, like you're a Schottenheimer, right? Like your dad was like really good head coach, right? And you've been an assistant for 23 years. And you didn't sniff a head coaching job at that time because every place you went, like you weren't that good, but you kept getting hired because you were Schottenheimer. Like, I don't know if that's like, hey, you know what? He's put in his 20 plus years. He should be a head coach of a football team. Like, there's a lot of times these veteran coaches that have been assistants for as long as they have, like, that's what they are. They're assistants. Like Steve Spagnuolo is a great example, right?
Yeah.
He's an amazing assistant head coach. The time when he was a head coach for the Rams, disaster. Like didn't work. It didn't work. And like, I bet if Steve Spagnuolo became a head coach for a team tomorrow, I don't think it would work. Like there's just certain guys where it doesn't happen. Vic Fangio, I think, is a great example of that, right?
Brandon Staley, Matt Eberflus, both good assistants.
Yeah, but like I'm talking about the ones that are like long time, like older guys who have like been in the NFL for a long time, who are well respected. But like there's certain guys that just aren't head coach material, and like nothing about Brian Schottenheimer screams head coach material. And like there's nothing about him personally, and nothing about him schematically, because again, like he's had all these different stops throughout his coaching career. And never once has been like, oh, this great offense attributed to Brian Schottenheimer. Like, no, it's always been just very middle of the pack, mediocre. And hell, look at the Cowboys the last couple years. Once Kellen Moore left, and then he takes over the offense, decline.
Yeah, no, I also feel like it's gonna be one and done. Like,
yeah, that's the other thing too. I was talking to a buddy who's a Cowboys fan, and like he him and I are always very like. We laugh because the Cowboys, it's like surprisingly great job security for having an owner like Jerry Jones. Like whoever's there is usually there for a long time, probably too long. But I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Brian Schottenheimer breaks that. And this is only like a year or like 2 years max before he's out of there. Like, I think this could be like, I do not see the Jason Garrett run of like, oh my God, how is he not getting fired yet? And he's there for a decade.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was pretty telling in the press conference. Schottenheimer sitting right next to Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones says, "This is a huge risk. Hiring this guy. Like he's right next to you." It was almost like Jerry was doing the press conference, not knowing that Schottenheimer was in the room. It was an awkward press conference too, because they both cried about their fathers passing away. Now, I'm not making fun of them for that, but like Jerry, your father's been gone for like 30 years. Like he literally made it about him. He started crying. Like, I don't know. Like it's just, it was
like, there's no photographs in color of your father, Jerry.
Right.
It's all right. Like,
yeah. Like Mark. Yeah. So I don't know. It was odd press, but that's just par for the course for Dallas. I really think if Jerry Jones could find a way to make himself the head coach, he would. He would. He wanted to coach when he was younger. He just said owning the team would make him more money, which he was right. But yeah. I feel like Jerry Jones, if he could make himself the head coach, he would do it. And that's why the Cowboys. And this is the best part. His son Stephen Jones in the drought. He had air quotes for drought. Guys, it's been 30 years since the Cowboys have been in the playoffs or win the Super Bowl. That's a drought. Drought. I don't whatever streak you're talking about, whatever sport you're talking about, 30 years, that's a drought.
And not just that too. Last NFC championship, 30 years too.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah,
drought. Yeah. Anyways, so that's it on the coaching and I'm excited for Pete Carroll in Vegas. We'll see what happens there. See who he gets as quarterback. I mean, I think it's a Sam Darnold or a Russell Wilson, though. I do.
Yeah, I gotta get a feel more for this draft season because I feel like a lot of times what happens at the beginning of draft season, people are like, oh, quarterbacks are gonna go high, but then we start to realize that maybe teams might not love the quarterbacks as much as like we assumed that they would.
Yeah,
and perhaps we don't have two quarterbacks in the top three. Perhaps we only have one in the top three. Perhaps we don't even get a quarterback until when the Raiders are on the board. Like there are some really good prospects there. And I my prediction as of right now is that one of Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders will be available for the Raiders at 6. I don't know which one, but I think one of them will be there. I think we only get one in those top three. I think Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter are two prospects that are not going to be passed up by those teams.
Let's go to our last topic since we're coming up on the hour here, NBA talk. So let me ask you, I'll let you go first. Or maybe do you want me to go first? Because I'm just going to come out and say it. Jimmy Butler right now, obviously, so he was suspended indefinitely after basically quitting again on his team. It's the third suspension he's had. He's played like 3 games in the last couple months. Obviously was traded, but he's killing himself here. But Jimmy Butler is being what? I'll just say Jimmy Butler, for all intents and purposes, is being a little bitch. That's just really how it is. Like he's being a little bitch is what he's being. Like not showing up to team, not going on the flights with like you still got to finish your job with the Heat. Like he's killing his trade market, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the word that I can say that's just not what you said. Jimmy Butler is being I'm going to say he's being a difficult son of a gun.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
He's making and here's the thing. It's like, I don't know why this is catching the Heat so off guard. And it's like, oh, we're suspending him. And now we're going to bring him in. Like Jimmy Butler has been a very good NBA player.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's had a very good career. If there's one knock you can have on Jimmy Butler, it's the fact that he's been 4 different teams now. And he's done this exact same thing in every single city that he's been in.
Every city. Yeah.
Every city. Chicago. He wanted out of Chicago. He got out of Chicago. Went to Minnesota. You remember what was going on in Minnesota with the practices and the practicing with a Rolex on and playing with the second teamers and beating Karl Anthony Towns and all those guys and saying like this, the MF, this, whatever. So then they get rid of him. He goes to Philadelphia. He's clashing with Joel Embiid, all those guys. He signs with the Heat. And the Heat, like, I think the Heat kind of have this idea that their Heat culture brand just will fix anything. Like, you come play for the Miami Heat, and Pat Riley and Heat culture will just, like, sap the me out of you, and it'll only be we, and, like, culture will overcome all. And for a little bit, it did look like that. Like, he got there, and they made the final. Like, they've been to 2 NBA finals with Jimmy Butler. and then another year where they had the number 1 seed in the East and went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, very successful run, but that doesn't mean that you are immune from the ultimate Jimmy Butler ending, which is what's happening now. So, now the problem is he's much older and he has a contract that is not favorable. And at the longer he continues to do this, is the worse that his trade market is going to become. And you're probably going to end up like selling off Jimmy Butler for maybe 40% of what he's actually worth without all this drama. So it's a tough spot for the Heat. You're not going to get a great haul for him, and you're just going to have to deal with it here because teams know that, and they're just going to lowball you. The Suns are going like the Warriors are now into it because the Warriors have no business, but they're like, well, shit, if it's going to be this low, you might as well go after him here. So yeah, it's and it goes back to the whole thing, like the superstar sort of like pouting thing for the NBA. Like I'm all for player empowerment, but it's not good for the league to have superstars doing stuff like this. It's not.
No.
It's tiring. It was tiring when James Harden was doing it, and all these guys that have had a similar thing. Like I'm shocked Joel Embiid honestly isn't doing this too. I feel like Joel Embiid is right on the cusp of a full on revolting against Philadelphia. But yeah, this isn't an entertaining storyline to me either. Like, I'm just gonna say this. I know we put it in and we're talking about it, but like I'm not like, oh, Jimmy Butler's doing this. Wow, this is what makes the NBA great. It's like, yeah, just enough. Like, trade his ass. Like, just be done with it.
Right. Yeah, no, I'm kind of tired of hearing about it. And like the whole breaking news of being suspended indefinitely. It's like, well, yeah. I mean, nobody's shocked by that.
But like, stop bringing him back. Like, stop bringing him back. Just keep him suspended. Like, this is like the third separate time he's been suspended. Like, it should have just been done the first time. It'd be like, all right, he's not going to play for the Heat again, and then just like move on from there. Yeah. Don't just keep whatever. He's being difficult. I like yours better though, if I'm being honest.
Should we get to the best 38s in all of sports?
Yeah, I got. Who the hell's number 38?
So Kurt Schilling wore 38, right?
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to get too political. Kurt Schilling should be a Hall of Famer, right?
Yeah. Didn't he wear 38?
I'm trying to see here. The problem is all the pictures I see of Kurt Schilling have just him in like the front of his jersey, which doesn't have a number on it. Let me check his baseball reference page though. That sounds right though.
Yeah, I believe that was the first one that popped in mind for me. Another one while you're looking that up.
Yeah, 38.
Do you remember? I know you remember, but do you remember Kwame Brown? Brown, a number 1 pick in the NBA draft.
Certainly.
He wore 38.
I remember Kwame Brown. I can never think about Kwame Brown without hearing Stephen A. Smith saying his voice after the Lakers traded Kwame Brown to Memphis for Pau Gasol.
Yeah.
Just, Kwame Brown! Like, it will live in my head forever. Yeah. Who else?
Yeah, 38. Not a great number for sports athletes. I'm sure again we're missing some hockey ones. We don't get Pavel Demitra, I believe, was 38. That's one that comes to mind. I don't know why. But Pavel Demitra was 38. So we've got a hockey, we've got a NBA, we've got a Major League Baseball. Any NFL? Can we think of any NFLs that have 38?
No, I'm looking at I'm looking for other baseball ones. Carlos Zambrano was 38.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Big Z. I understand why you would want to ignore that though. Just your general hatred.
Yeah, I mean Zambrano annoying as Jake Arrieta. Because Zambrano was still on those Cubs teams that were gonna implode. Arrieta's teams, they just did. The one team just didn't, and he cheated his way to a World Series. So, but yes, Zambrano was one of those where it was like you're kind of excited to be facing him because like you feel like you might get 6 in the first, or like by the 5th, it might be 2-0 Cubs, but then he's going to give up 6. And I mean, he's going to throw his glove, and like you're going to get to Zambrano. It was Jake Arrieta that was the annoying.
I have another random one here. This is I don't know this player. You might from when you were younger. Do you remember Rick Aguilera, pitcher?
Yeah.
3-time All-Star. Yeah, he was number 38.
Okay. I
Mostly Twins. Like Twins was his best years. Also the Mets. Was drafted by the he was drafted by the Cardinals first, but then that was out of high school. But then he got drafted by the Mets later on. But yeah, Ricky Aguilera. How about that?
Okay.
Number 38. That's definitely harder to do than 32 was. Like 32 and 34. Those were our golden numbers, and now it gets tough.
Todd Worrell, former St. Louis Cardinal, also 38. Very good St. Louis Cardinal, also Los Angeles Dodger as well. But that's probably the only Cardinal I can really think of that wore 38.
Yeah. So it sounds honestly like Curt Schilling is probably the best one.
Yeah. Yeah, we can go with that. Curt Schilling. Yes, and he should be a Hall of Famer, but his political beliefs are keeping him out.
Yeah. Well, because we know famously that that if you're a millionaire Major League Baseball player, you're liberal, right? I'm sure. I'm sure all of when I look at a guy like Nolan Ryan, I'm just like, man, he is a flaming leftist. That's
yeah. Well, let's we can wrap up on that. But so we are back on Friday, 8:00 in the morning. So I think each of the next 3 shows will need to add a few more prop bets in for the Super Bowl. Have a couple different tidbits going for the Super Bowl. So if you come across any over the next 60 hours or so, keep those aside for the show. But 215 of you, we thank you for joining us, and several of you right away talking that high school basketball game we went to tonight. So Tim, thanks for joining me at the game, man. It was the best $5 all month so far.
It was definitely the best $5 that have ever been spent on me for my enjoyment. So thank you for that. Yeah, no, it was fun. It was fun. Probably we'll go to another one at some point if I'm invited though.
Yeah, they got a few more home games. I was 2 rows higher than I like that front row spot, but those damn boys. My brother said he got there before 5:30, before the sophomore games even started, and all those I don't know 4. They took my spot. That's where I sit. Dang it. Anyways, maybe next time we can get front row. I'll give you a different experience sitting up front. But anyways, go ahead, give them the spiel.
If you miss anything on the Stupidest Sports Show, whether it's tonight, whether it's any of our other previous 37 shows, you can always go back and listen at any time. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on iHeart. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we're there. Download, like, review, subscribe, unsubscribe, then resubscribe. Leave a review. Make sure it's a good review. We'll find you
leave
otherwise.
a review if it's good ones. If you're from Metamora, please don't leave any reviews.
No.
No, we didn't say that tonight. We didn't say anything wrong. But
you wanted to, though. You wanted to go fight people. I was like, Rodney, come on, man. Cooler heads.
Follow us on Twitter at Stupid Sports Show, no W on the end. And I haven't thrown this one out there, but we are still kind of flirting out the idea of different sponsorship opportunities. We do have those available. Getting that yet. We do have the packages ready. Just been busy with other things, but if you are interested in sponsoring the show, there are plenty of opportunities. Get a hold of him or myself, probably myself, and we'll get you there. And then the last thing, sign up for the Stupidest Sports Show on Substack. I've gone 28 days giving Substacks. Starting today, I was just shy of 10 units ahead on the month.
Yeah, we're in the bleachers today, and you're like, I'm like 9 units up right now on Substack. I was like, look at you, Rodney. Look at you winning. You're not weighed down by me and my losses anymore. It's amazing.
So the Substacks spewing out picks each day. NHL, if there's NFL, we'll give those. College basketball, of course, and that'll be the big one here in the next couple weeks. And then if we get to baseball, when we get to baseball, we'll start doing those as well. But those come to you every day, typically around the 3 o'clock time, maybe a little bit later, sometimes a little bit earlier. On weekends, it will be in your inbox by 10 o'clock because those college basketball games get going around 11. So get us on Substack. It's a free email. And if you don't want to read it for the day, you can press delete, but it'll come right to your email. So Substack, there you go.
Well, I for one love the notifications that Rodney has spewed his picks on me. So at me.
Yeah. Okay. anyways, but that's it. We do a thing. We do up to 227. So we appreciate 227. And tune in Friday, 8 a.m. Central,
8 a.m.
9 a.m. Eastern time.
9 a.m. Eastern. Yeah. And for our East Coast audience, we'll lay off the 15 minutes of Central Illinois high school basketball talk. I don't know, unless Thursday night gives us another high quality game, and then I'm all in. I'm all in, buddy. Middle line.
Thursday nights are typically for the freshman team. I think I'll probably avoid that one. My son's 8th grade team may play on a random Thursday night, but I think we can possibly pass from those. But yeah,
I will, especially because my analysis is like, man, look at the girth of their legs. I'm like, I don't know if I feel comfortable doing that for 14-year-old freshmen.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Yeah. All right.
Take us home, Tim.
On that note, because that's pretty much the best way to end any show on. For Rodney Newpol, I'm Tim Slam and Sammy Van Stratton. We'll be back Friday morning, 8 a.m. Central, right here, YouTube, Twitter. Watch along, comment along, and also don't forget to listen to us on the podcast, any of our previous 38 episodes of the show. All right. Good night, everyone. This has been another wonderful edition of the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth. See you guys.
See ya.
Step right up, dummies, and listen to the Stupidest Sports Show on Earth with Rodney Newpol and Tim Van Stratton. Yeah.